All right, welcome everybody to this is a new one for us actually. So this is going to be a really nice rundown of all the different species that you can hunt in Illinois and kind of what goes into it. We're going to go over the licenses you're going to need, and as well as the equipment you're going to need, and also just the general kind of vibe of each hunting that you might want to go out for. So this is real cornerstone for people who are just getting into it. Again, so we'll be going over all that, and then we'll have times at the very end for a Q&A. So how this is going to work is your guys' cameras are all off, so no stress with that. But if you have a question, you can put that in the question or the chat window, and then we'll answer that either via the chat or we will answer it live. The person presenting will answer it for you. And again, if you're around at the end, we'll have unlimited time for Q&A to sit there and talk to you and answer any questions you may have. And you'll all be provided a recording of this as well. All right, getting started. I think Curtis is going to take us from here. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So, like Jason said, this webinar is specifically designed for people who might be like really on step one, right? Brand new to their hunting journey. Maybe you've decided that by shows that you've seen on TV or things you've read that you want to give hunting or consumptive outdoor use a try, but you're not quite sure what's right for you, right? Like the most popular type of hunting, especially in Illinois in the Midwest, is deer hunting. But maybe you're somebody who doesn't have a deep freezer. Maybe the idea of processing an entire deer or getting an entire deer out of the land is like a complete detriment to you. So we're going to talk through all that kind of stuff and give you options no matter what you're looking to get out of the outdoors. We think we can find a type of hunting that really suits you. But we're going to start off with what credentials do you need just to get started? So if you're on step one and you've never done anything in the hunting realm, this is what you need just to kind of get going. So now, I will say there are mentored hunting licenses that you can get before you do some of these steps, as long as you hunt with somebody who is a licensed hunter. We're not really going to talk about that much today. We're just talking about what you need to get going. And basically, you first need the base hunting license. And to get a base hunting license, people born after 1980 must pass the hunter safety course. Now, even if you're grandfathered in, we always recommend everybody go ahead and take the course. If you're over 18, you can take it online if you like. There's also options to take it in person. But that's going to be really helpful. That's going to be step one. Once you have that, you can buy your base hunting license. Your base hunting license is $12. Now, Illinois, the one special regulation we do have here is if you are an Illinois resident, you need to have the FOID card, which is the Firearm Owner's Identification Card. And this is basically very similar to like the NICS firearm check that is done when you buy a gun in store. But if you're an Illinois resident, you need to have that. That's kind of a special just for Illinois residents, if you will. The online course that I mentioned, you can take that for about $30. The habitat stamp is also a requirement for all types of hunting. That's only $5. And there's sometimes some extra requirements on public land, like a windshield card or a site-specific permit, but those things are free. So all in, all that stuff, you're basically talking 40, $50. Not much to get the base stuff you need to hunt a whole bunch of different critters. And on this next slide, we'll kind of go into what you can hunt if you have those things. And that's going to include your small game like squirrels and rabbits. That's going to include any of our birds that are non-migratory, like this rooster pheasant here in this awesome picture that I think Lauren captured of Learn to Hunt participant taking a shot there at a rooster pheasant. That's also going to include certain fur bearers like raccoon and coyote. And as always, always check site-specific regulations, because even beyond the statewide regulations, if you're hunting on public land, there are oftentimes special season closures and all kinds of area-specific regulations that you have to adhere to. For an example, The squirrel season in Illinois is a long season, but there's a whole lot of public land areas that shut the squirrel season down for a significant portion of that season, just to basically give more access to deer hunters. So even though the statewide season is going on, you would not be able to squirrel hunt at those areas. So always check the site-specific regulations when hunting public land.
And I want to add too, some sites don't allow it at all. Like, so you might have a site that allows, squirrel, but you can't do rabbits there. So definitely make sure just because a species is allowed in Illinois doesn't mean a site is going to allow it. Not all sites allow all species, and it's not like a tiered system. So it's very site dependent.
Yeah, and a good spot to find those regulations is huntillinois.org, which is a DNR ran website. So huntillinois.org. You can also contact each site and call up them, make sure that they're up to date because sometimes they may change or it might vary. So if you're ever worried about anything, don't hesitate to call up the site office and they'll give you a clear answer, hopefully.
For sure, and us as well, because we understand this stuff is confusing. It's even confusing for us, so never feel like any questions are silly questions. Always feel free to reach out to us at Learn to Hunt, and we can help guide you through that stuff too, because that's one of the roles we serve is helping to sort through some of this stuff. But now let's go on to another class of wildlife we've got here in Illinois that's very popular, and that's our migratory birds. So this is primarily going to be our doves, our ducks, and our geese. This also technically includes woodcock, rails, snipe, coots, and mergansers. Those are less popular, so we're not going to talk about them as much as the ducks, geese, and doves. But to hunt these migratory birds, you need to do the HIP registration. Good news is that's free. All they do is ask you some questions about the migratory birds that you hunted in Illinois last year. So guess what? If it's your first year, the first question is going to be, did you hunt migratory birds in Illinois last year? And you're going to say no, and you're done. You're HIP certified. So congratulations. Now, beyond that, if you go to waterfowl, like ducks, geese, mergansers, you also need the state waterfowl stamp, which is $15, and then the federal waterfowl stamp, which is $25 if you get it at a post office. And that is the best place to get it. If you go to your local post office and ask them for it, if they haven't run out, they'll hand you a physical stamp, and it does only cost $25 if I'm not mistaken. No fees, no taxes, no nothing. Now, if you get this at a Bass Pro or wherever you get your normal licenses, you can still get it, but generally what they do is an electronic stamp, and you do have to pay some processing fees and all that. It probably makes it closer to 32, 33 bucks if you do it that way, but you can also do it that way. Waterfowl, one special thing for these is they do require the use of non-toxic shot. And so on public land, there's a lot of public land areas that may require non-toxic shot for everything. A lot of places will require it for doves, but every place, whether it's public or private, is going to require the non-toxic shot for waterfowl. That has been a regulation for a long time. Most popular shot is steel because it's the least expensive, but there's also bismuth, tungsten, and copper, some other options out there. But again, just like mentioned before, a lot of the public land areas, you need a site-specific permit. Some of those that you can actually draw before the season in the waterfowl drawing procedure, and then some of those you get in a daily drawing. And then there's also areas in Illinois that do a drawing for multiple years if you're along the river. So all kinds of different ways to potentially draw a public land site. And unfortunately, they're kind of variable, so they're all over the place. We're not going to talk through all the different ways right here, but if this is a thing you're interested in, definitely start looking into that now, because a lot of these drawings are either started or getting ready to get going pretty quick. All right, now larger game. Like I mentioned before, the most popular animal is the deer, but we also got turkey in Illinois, good population of turkeys. And when it comes to these larger animals, these require a species-specific tags. So now instead of those base hunting licenses, which you still need, now you got to get an actual turkey permit and deer hunting permit. And these are going to be specific permits that go on a specific animal. So, whereas squirrel, once you get your squirrel hunting license, you just have to adhere by the daily limit and the possession limit, but you can hunt every day of the season if you want, and you can keep hunting squirrels as long as you keep your possession limit down and you stay within the daily limit. When it comes to turkeys and deer, and also permit species like bobcat as well, you need a permit for that specific animal. So you get a turkey permit, you go out and get a turkey. That permit is used on that turkey. Now you have no more turkey permits. You would have to buy another one to continue hunting. So this also includes a mandatory harvest reporting. So after you are successful, you have to report that so that the IDNR gets an accurate harvest total for these species like deer and turkey. And your spring turkey tags are $15 for residents. If you're hunting in the fall and you're archery hunting deer, you can add on a turkey tag. I think it's just $5, so really inexpensive to do that. And then your fall deer tags, you can get your antlerless or either sex that can be used for antlered or antlerless deer, $25 for residents. So really affordable for residents for what winds up being a good amount of good high quality meat out there. So now let's get into what type of hunting actually suits you. So that's the kind of stuff you need. You know, for every type of hunting, yes, you do need some credentials, but in the whole scheme of things, is it really that bad? Everything we do nowadays costs money, right? You go out to a movie with your family, wow, you're probably dropping $100. So for most of these types of hunting, you're talking about less than $100 to do your hunting all year, and you're also getting exercise out of it. And if you're successful, you're getting some of the best quality local meat that's available to people. So there's a whole lot of benefits there. We think it's well worth it. But beyond just the monetary that's required to get into it, you also have to think about, what do you want from the outdoors? What are you looking to gain from the outdoors? If you've been called to the outdoors, called to hunting for some reason, what is it for? Are you looking for fast action with your friends and family that maybe waterfowl hunting provides? Or are you looking for a relaxing time in the woods, solitude to sit and meditate, and the challenge of archery hunting for a mature buck? You know, does that suit you? There's really a type of hunting for everybody. And we've listed kind of all these things to consider out, and I won't go through each of these things, but kind of look through that list and get out a piece of paper and jot down some things that you want to get from hunting, and then look at the types of hunting that match that. And I know when you're new to hunting, you may not know that yet, but luckily enough, here in future slide, we've got some sliders that'll help us kind of talk through that. But this next slide after this one is actually going to be, what concerns do you have about hunting? So you can jot down some of the things that you most want to get from hunting, whether that's fast action, whether that's solitude, whether that's wildlife management on your property, but also what are some of the concerns that you have? And one of them is, like I mentioned before, maybe you're thinking about deer hunting, but the thought of dragging a deer out of the woods is terrifying. Okay, well, maybe squirrel hunting is right up your alley. A really good way to start. So another thing, go ahead and jot down. Do you have any major concerns that would stop you from hunting? Jot those down, and then any hunting that those apply to, maybe that's not the one to start with.
I'm curious if anyone's brave enough. You can throw that in the comments. So if you have any the reason why you're interested in getting into hunting, and then possibly any concerns you may have, throw that in the comments, just seeing what everybody's feeling is right now. But you don't have to. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see what y'all are thinking.
Yeah, because we're all very different. Like we all kind of do, pretty much everything with this job, but we all definitely have very different approaches and, so it's kind of be interesting to see where you guys are at. So,
For sure. And to elaborate on that, we're actually working on a cool little quiz that can kind of help people determine what type of hunting best suits them. So we're still in the development process for that. We don't have it rolled out yet, but be watching in the coming weeks. We hope to roll this out, and we'll have a little quiz where you can answer some personality type questions, and then it'll help by giving you some suggestions of some types of hunting that may suit what your personality is pointing you towards. But we kind of use that same mentality to develop these sliders. So we did develop these internally. So yes, some of these you could argue could go up or down. This is kind of where we decided they should be, and overall average when considering all the different ways to hunt. And not only are the different types of hunting really, there's a lot of different types of hunting, but even within the types of hunting, like if you look at one part of this, like archery deer hunting, there's 100 different ways to archery deer hunt. So some of these sliders could be moved way to the right, way to the left, depending on how somebody specifically hunts. So keep that in mind. We tried to pick a good average, but be gentle. Don't be angry at us if we rated something differently than you might. But let's look through here. So in general, we've got 9 different types of hunting that are popular in Illinois. And again, we didn't include things that are really small, like crow hunting or woodcock hunting or falconry, things like that just not a ton of people do. But all of these are 9 fairly popular types of hunting, and also all things that people can get into relatively easy. So they've all got their caveats, but some of them require more fitness. Like you'll see upland game is one of the ones that we ranked pretty high on fitness, because that's one of the types of hunting that you are walking all the time. Pretty much if you're not moving around, you're not hunting. Now, that's not to say that it's always requires more fitness to be an upland game hunter than to do these other things, because keep in mind, as a deer hunter, you've got to drag that deer out. So if you're hiking in a mile or two into public land, maybe your deer hunting is pretty relaxed and meditative most of the time, but once you get an animal down, it might be one night of some of the most work out of any type of hunting on this entire list. So highly variable even amongst the specific types of hunting, but we rated the fitness required. We also rated the stealth required. So some of these things, you got to be real quiet. You can't move around. You've got to be real cognizant of that, especially with deer, turkey, a little bit with waterfowl. And with some of these, you don't have to worry about that so much, like upland game, and to a certain extent, doves and small game. You don't have to worry about that. You could talk with your buddies. It could be a social thing that you're also hunting, rather than like when you're deer or turkey hunting, you got to kind of put all your focus into that, and you're not really chit-chatting with your buddies when you're doing that stuff. We've also got preparation on here, and that's the amount of preparation you need to kind of do that. So let's say it's the fall and all these seasons are open. It takes a lot more preparation to go deer hunting than it does to go squirrel hunting. So you would need a lot more time and energy to get ready to go out and actually do that. The processing, same thing. That's going to be on the other end, though. Now, if you are successful, how much effort is actually required to put this meat or the fur or both to good use? And obviously, with processing, deer is at the top, and then things like dove is way down towards the bottom, because that's really easy to process. It also doesn't require much freezer space, so not very intimidating. We also ranked the equipment needed. So some of these things are really low on the equipment that you need, like dove and small game. Some of them are very high, like trapping and waterfowl. If you're somebody that likes to tinker with equipment or go to the store and look at the newest things, then trapping and waterfowl might be right up your alley. We also rated access. This is going to be how easy is it for you to actually go out and do this? So this is a combination of private and public land. And you'll see, like with firearms deer, low access because it is incredibly hard to get public or private land access. And then when it comes to public land, those are generally site-specific permits that can be difficult to draw. So access very, very limited. Whereas trapping, access is very high because not only is it one of the easiest things to get permission on public land, but also if you contact area sites, a lot of them don't have a lot of trapping pressure and they would welcome a little bit more trapping. We've talked to some sites that are contacting us looking for trappers because they've got problem beaver or muskrats or something of that nature. So the access very, very high for trapping. Now, action, that is the actual amount of like shot opportunities that you're going to get. So for deer, it's low, right? Because we're going after one animal, we're hoping to get one, and then our season might be done. Whereas with small game, hey, maybe we're getting two, three, four squirrels a day and getting more shot opportunities than that. So action very high. And then social, this is kind of goes along with stealth to some extent, but can you be social and do this? Is this a social thing or is this a solitude, like go to the woods and marsh and, reflect yoga style stuff? So, anyway, all this different stuff, ways to evaluate the different types of hunting, and we hope these little sliders and charts will be helpful for people who are kind of evaluating the different types of hunting in Illinois and deciding what might be best for them personally. So now let's talk about each of these types of hunting a little bit more, the pros and cons. And firearm deer hunting is, of course, going to be one of the most popular for good reason. All the shows you see on the hunting movies, right? 90% of them are probably deer hunting. It's the most amount of meat that you can get from wild game, and it's dang good. So the pros on deer hunting are pretty easy to see. Also challenging prey, right? If you get a big buck, that's something to be proud of. These animals are not, they're not what you would call easy to hunt. So when you get one, you have accomplished something. You have defeated a really challenging prey species. Now the cons, especially with firearm deer hunting, very, very short season. The tags are either county or site specific. You may have to draw them well before the season, and obviously a high amount of post-harvest effort and low shot opportunities. So you may hunt the entire season hoping to get one shot. You may not get that shot. But if you're looking for something in the woods that's mostly sedentary until it's time to drag a deer out, and then it's some of the hardest work you got to do, deer hunting might suit you. If you're looking for a large amount of red meat to put in your freezer, deer hunting is definitely where it's at. So it's got its pluses and its minuses. It's probably the most popular thing that people think about to get into hunting. But I would definitely argue that it's not the best type of hunting for new hunters to get into. And it's because of those things I just mentioned, the low shot opportunities and then the huge amount of physical demands once you do get a deer down can
Yeah.
be really challenging for new hunters.
I do want to say too, everybody always says, the real work begins after the shot. And my husband kind of thought people were like, I don't know if you kidding or like kind of being like overestimating it. Like it is a lot of work if you're going to process it yourself. So just be prepared to have the space and the time to do that. And you can always get one processed, especially your first one. That is always an option, but just keep that in mind. It is when we say it's a lot of work, it is a lot of work. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it is a big animal that you need to break down. So just keep that in mind, and keep in mind your vehicle space as well.
Yeah, you can get it processed, but they're not going to go out to your woods and drag it out for you. So that's on
Yeah.
you. And I hope you got a buddy, especially if you're a smaller human. So, because that's I mean, hey, you're talking a big Illinois deer. You're dragging a 200-pound dead weight out
Even
of
a
the.
small Illinois deer, when we got ours, like we were like, we're glad it's not bigger than it is, honestly. Like it would have been, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you
it
may need help. Don't be afraid to ask. And also, if you're gonna invest in a deer cart, you can actually you get what you pay for when it comes to deer carts. I think more than anything I've ever seen. I've seen them break midway through a drag. So uh, spending a little extra money on a heavy duty deer cart, just like kind of buying a cheaper wheelbarrow if anyone's done gardening. Um, yeah, you get what you get. It's not bad to put a little bit more extra money in your deer cart, and that also does two things. One, it makes it easier for you to drag the deer out, but it also keeps the meat clean and keeps you from getting leaves and stuff packed in. When I was a kid, I used to drag them out just by the back legs or by the antlers, whatever, I mean, it would get pretty dirty dragging it across creeks and stuff before I got back to the car. That deer cart does twofold. So don't be afraid to get that deer cart and help you out there.
Deer cart's super helpful. I'll say, like 2 years ago, I got a deer. There's video up on our Learn to Hunt channel. You can find it. I got it way down at the bottom. I'm pretty sure it's the biggest hill in Illinois. I'll have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it was. And I got it way at the bottom, and I would not have been able to drag that deer out of there had I not had a deer cart. That was the only way I was getting out of there is with that deer cart. So, and I know some of you from the central part of Illinois might be thinking like the biggest hill in Illinois, what is that like? A molehill? But hey, along the river there are some big hills. Let me tell you.
Yeah, there's some ravines, and take that into account when you pick your hunting spot out as well. Like it doesn't have to be. You can shoot deer next to the car. You really
yeah,
can. You can go
yeah.
within a quarter mile of the parking lot and get a deer. And I mean, I've pulled up to places where I was going to hunt for the first time, and I came out when I pulled in the dark. I come out at light after I walk a mile away from the car. I come back out in the light time. I look over and there's a giant scrape and rub right next to the parking lot, and I'm just like, son of a gun! We're right next to the dang parking lot. But yeah. Anyway, so you can hunt right. You don't have to go as far in as you have to go. I mean, as long as it depends on the pressure, depends on the area, you'll figure it out. But
But yeah,
also
but if you really
realize,
don't want to walk down that without the deer, you're not going to want to drag that deer up
yeah,
it.
yeah.
For
There's some
sure.
spots I've hunted before along the rivers, which is a lot of public land in this state. There's ravines and things, and you got to realize that the deer could run into that if you're hunting on top of it. So be prepared.
For sure, for sure. And the one tip I want to throw in here, and this is an advanced tip, probably too advanced for a beginning webinar, but my favorite thing to do at public land, especially if you are somebody who's like a little bit in shape, right? Is like find the oldest person that's hunting that public land and start talking to them. Because here's the thing, that oldest person that hunts there probably has the most information about that piece of property. But guess what? They're terrified of shooting a deer way out there and having to get that thing out by themselves. So I go up to them and I'd be like, hey, you want to change numbers in case one of us gets a deer? If you get one, I'll help you. If I get one, you help me. They jump on that because the chance of having somebody younger to help them get that deer to their truck. And guess what? Once you tell them that, they will divulge every piece of information about that piece of property that they've gained over their entire life. I've done that a number of times and I've got really good information and also met some really cool people. And so anyway, if you're in shape enough to help, that's a great way to really speed scout in areas. Just pick one of those old timers' brains, and they're going to be much more likely to give you that information once you offer them some help like that. So, pro tip. But now, archery hunting, and this is kind of deer and turkey combined. So we always recommend if you are archery hunting, add on that turkey tag. It's just $5, and you get to really diversify the hunting that you're doing. But the pros, much longer season with a way more flexibility than the firearm season. All those things we talked about with the firearm season, having to draw the site specific permit. For the most part, you don't have to worry about that with archery hunting. Once you get your archery hunting permit, you're ready to hunt pretty much statewide. Again, check your area site specific regulations because not every place is going to allow you, and a lot of places are going to require you to have that free windshield card, but you can hunt one area for a couple weeks and then you can move and hunt another area for a few days. Go and hunt another area. You've got flexibility. You've got a long season. You've also got a season that spans the super popular pre-rut period. We always tell people if you're hunting deer in Illinois, if you want to hunt that period that's super exciting where bucks are running everywhere, they might be fighting, they're laying down a bunch of sign. You want to start your hunt about Halloween through the first couple weeks in November. That is your prime time, and guess what? You're not going to get that firearms hunting, so you got to be an archery hunter if you want to experience that. And archery hunting gets you, it necessitates you getting close to the animal. So it basically makes you really get into the scouting, and people that like studying maps and developing plans and looking at wind. Oh man, archery hunting is like the best game of chess for them, especially when you're after one or two mature animals and no other animal's gonna suit you. I mean, that's you're not going to get a lot of shot opportunities, but when it does pan out, obviously you get a huge reward because you've accomplished something that's not everybody can do. So the cons, just like with firearms hunting, really low efficiency, even obviously much lower efficiency than firearms hunting, but you do have a much longer season to get it done. So at least there's that. There is still the really high post-harvest effort. You've got to be able to drag that deer out and either process it or pay to get it processed, which is probably going to run you a couple $100 or so. And you're not going to get a ton of shot opportunities. But you know, if you're somebody that really likes that stealth aspect of having to be in the woods, being still, being quiet, also worrying about your scent, archery hunting is the that's the epitome of all that stuff, and it is the chess game of you versus a very worthy adversary. So really good. I would say I much prefer archery deer hunting over firearms deer hunting.
Yeah.
Firearms deer hunting for me is a way to go out and fill a tag when maybe archery didn't work out. But if I could fill tags archery hunting every year, then I would just not firearms deer hunt personally.
Yeah, I agree. I love archery hunting. I just realized that this is gonna be my 25th year of hunting in general, but since I started when I was 12, but been deer hunting the entire time. And yeah, I just love it so much. But I just love getting out, just everything that Curtis said, like getting out and when you feel like last year I hunted 5 different spots. I didn't sit the same spot. Usually I was growing up in Pennsylvania, we had tree stands where you go to the tree stand as a kid and the tree stand had been there long enough to where the tree's growing into the tree stand, you know. And now as I got older and I've learned more about deer ecology and learning more about and having public land that's over 2,000 acres to hunt on, and you seeing how the wind works and taking all that, putting it together, and being like, okay, on this day I'm gonna go sit here because of this wind. And last year I saw 5 mature bucks in 5 different spots. With it, like it makes you realize that you're able to put it all together. And I didn't harvest anything last year, and yet it was still one of my more successful seasons just because of I was finally able to put the pieces together. And this is after 24 years of hunting. I was finally able to figure that out. So don't kick yourself if it takes you a while to get a deer. People say people can go get one within a half hour of opening light on first day, but you can say that for anything. But it could also take you a couple years. It could take you a long time. So just enjoy the process and then you'll enjoy it the entire time. If you can enjoy sitting in a tree and watching the sunrise and having a bird land on your leg or something when you're dressed up like a bush, you'll be good to go. And
Yeah,
this is
that's
something
happened
that's
to you
meant
a
for
couple
you.
times now.
Dude,
You've had you've
I
had
know.
birds land on
I'm
you.
like a I'm the opposite of a scarecrow. But
You're a
yeah,
Disney princess.
yep. I just don't move. I'm a couch potato. If you're a couch potato, so you can take that skill and put it in a tree stand, and you'll be successful. But
Sweet
but yeah.
potato.
Anyway, but no, it's just fun. Again, something else to consider is temperature, man. If you're not familiar, if you don't like dressing up like the Michelin Man and going out and or like a firearm season last year, I think I had on the Thursday of second season. You can Google this. I think it was -15 degree wind chill. And I was out and I was getting my breath was freezing to my face and I saw three doe, and I didn't get a shot at them because I was moving too slow. But and I was also like, do I really want to drag something out right now? Because it's so miserable out that morning. But archery season, the problem of harvesting when it's too warm out, then you got to worry about getting the deer back before it starts to stink and stuff like that. But you
Yep,
can
that's
still get,
the problem we had last year with archery because my husband got one on
yeah.
like the second day of the season. So that's early October.
Getting out in those 50-degree days, though, right in the transition of autumn, is amazing. So if you can get out then too, that's something else to consider too as you're picking which equipment. If I have $500, do I want to buy a firearm first or a bow first? Things to think about. For archery, you have a lot longer season. You can learn more about the deer habitat and how deer use the landscape, and it kind of gives you more time to learn versus firearm season, which gives you 7 days in a year to try to get good at something, and then have to wait a whole nother year to try to get good at it again. So think of that as you want. Go ahead, Curtis.
And archery also kind of gives you an additional hobby as well for the off season too.
True.
Especially if
Yeah.
you decide not to go for crossbow. But if you try to go for like compound or recurve or things like that,
Yep.
um, that takes a lot of practice. So be prepared as well. If you're going to go for archery, you're going to have to spend the time in the spring and summer practicing.
Also, I personally like crossbow for deer hunting, and then I like having a recurve bow for archery for target shooting. And that's just me. But so you pick whatever you want on that spectrum of technology for bow hunting and archery practice.
For sure, yeah, I 100% agree. Anybody that wants to get into deer hunting, archery 100% is the way to do it for all the reasons Jason just said. And even if, I mean, and I've said this before in a lot of different things, I deer hunted for 6 years before I was ever successful. I think I hunted for 6 years before I ever even fired an arrow. So I spent a lot of time in a stand archery hunting, basically just learning before I ever even had a chance, because there's a lot of different things that can go wrong. Um, but that's part of the process. Like Jason said, if you enjoy the process and you're not just focused on success, deer hunting is a great thing to go on. If you're more focused on success, hey, small game, because
Hmm.
you're much more likely to get several shot opportunities and figure that out in a short time frame than you are deer.
Yep. And also don't take any of hunting too seriously. When I was younger, again growing up, just trying to to be like, this is the only show I'm ever going to have this season. I got to make it count. And then if it doesn't work out, then I beat yourself up. Just realize that you're out there, and you seeing something is awesome. Don't kick yourself too badly, and also don't make stupid decisions either. So all that kind of goes together for new hunters. I mean, that's something you're going to have to learn as you're getting out there. But there's always going to be another time. It's not going to be the only buck you see that year, or if it is, then you'll see one next year. Don't do anything stupid, and don't be upset if you move and it wins you and it runs away. And it's just all part of it.
Yeah, we've all made those mistakes, especially in the early going. Basically, you have to make those mistakes to get to the next level. So it's going to happen. But let's talk about the actual equipment that's involved. And these are both firearm deer and archery hunting kind of combined because it's very similar. And again, we did very basic averages. So we did 500 for a firearm, 500 for a bow. You could spend way less than that for either of those, and you can spend way more than that for either of those. So there is a huge um, window there of prices, or you may already have a firearm or a bow, and that's not an expense that you have to deal with. But we chose 500 for a nice little average here, and that's with everything on here. Again, we used averages, so you could argue it one way or the other, but we had to come up with some number. This is what we came up with, and when it comes to either firearm deer or archery deer hunting, right at $1,000 or just a little bit more than that to get into it from scratch. Now that's not including the credentials that we talked about earlier in this webinar, but that's just the equipment. So if you have about $1,000 to put into equipment, you could be ready to firearm deer hunt or archery deer and turkey hunt. Now, most hunters will eventually build up way more than the minimum amount of equipment that we listed there. And so there's a bunch more stuff that you can use. So we listed some of those things there and a basic price point just so you can get an idea. But basically, think about it about $1,000 to start from scratch just to kind of get a feel for it. Because I always recommend people, if you're just starting deer hunting, you don't need to buy the best of everything and you don't need to buy every single piece of equipment that's there. Just go ahead and get the minimum to do it comfortably and give it a try. If it's something that you like, you'll slowly build up that good equipment over time, and you'll probably wind up getting a lot better equipment that way rather than just going buying a big chunk of equipment all at once and then deciding, yeah, you know what, maybe I don't even want to be a deer hunter, I want to be a duck hunter. And now you're going to be selling that stuff on marketplace, which is a great place to look for a lot of this stuff used, because a lot of people do that.
Yeah, you can find a lot of stuff like Facebook Marketplace, eBay, like depending on what you're looking for, you can find a lot of stuff used. So it's a
Yeah.
good yard sales. It may not be the best quality stuff, but if you're just looking to get started and get going, because it's a lot if you're starting. But once you have those boots, and those warm clothes, you can apply it to other things too. So keep that
Yep.
in mind as well.
And they don't go bad, firearms anyway. I'm hunting with the same 12 gauge, not 12 gauge, the same Mossberg 500 I got when I was 12 years old. Is still my deer gun, and also Mossberg 500s and Remington 870s are your real good entry level shotgun, and they usually come with a smooth bore barrel and a rifled barrel, so that we can shoot slugs out of it at deer, and then you can also go bird shot for waterfowl, something like that. So it's like two guns in one for those entry level guns.
For sure. And it's one of the few things that we ever buy in our entire life that actually, for the most part, appreciates in value rather than goes down. So a lot of guns do actually go up in value as you go. And if you take care of them, like Jason said, that's not just a lifetime thing, but that can be even an heirloom that can last multiple lifetimes. So, um, yeah, don't think about it just as it's not like spending $500 for a fancy shirt with some designer's name on it that's going to be probably worthless in a year. Like, this is stuff that retains its value. So the additional concerns with this is the stuff we already talked about, a high amount of effort once you do get an animal on the ground. And for some people, this could be downright a deal breaker. If you're somebody who's a smaller individual, you don't have a lot of friends or acquaintances to help you, maybe you just can't hardly drag a deer. And, something like small game or birds is going to be a little bit easier on you, at least until you develop a network of friends who can help you out. And that's what we all do. When we were all there bow hunting around Champaign, we all had each other's numbers. And if somebody did release an arrow, a text would go out and everybody's on standby to come help, either help track or help drag this deer out. But everybody will pool together and make sure that this deer is found and got out of the woods, because we all know what a chore it is. And if you help out your buddy, then guess what? They're going to help you out when that time comes for you.
And processing goes a lot faster with a couple sets of hands too, breaking it down, especially if you can have somebody like weighing things up and wrapping things as well. And we do game processing workshops as well, in case you do want to get a feel for that and kind of gain a little bit of confidence. So just keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, hoping to have one or two of those here either this fall or maybe in the winter. So keep an eye out for those. We should have some at some point this year. Turkey hunting. All right. So now we're getting into a little bit more, another level of interaction with wildlife than deer hunting. So where deer hunting is a lot of the chess game and studying maps and scouting, turkey hunting is a lot of calling, hearing the bird, and developing a plan on the fly with those basically auditory clues with the bird's location. So it does involve planning and it does involve stealth and a lot of those same things as deer, but in a completely different way. And for me personally, I like to eat deer better. So I'm always going to be a deer hunter. But when it comes down to just pure, straight up fun hunting, I will take turkey hunting 9 times out of 10 over deer. I mean, it's way more exciting in my mind. Um, but yeah, the pros, it can be really fast action. I've had a lot of hunts where you get on them on the roost and you're talking to them and your excitement's building, and your hunt might be over in less than 30 minutes. But that whole time, even before shooting time, it's excitement that's building, and it's stuff that you don't get with deer because we're not doing that back and forth calling, at least not hardly. Sometimes you will get people rattling a deer or grunting a deer, but it's not nearly the same or to the extent that it is with turkey or waterfowl. Um, a huge benefit about turkey hunting is that it can be done in the spring. Most of these types of hunting are all competitive, so you got to choose what you're doing at the expense of others. But turkey hunting's during the spring, so there's hardly anything else going on. So it is a great time to get out in the woods and do that. And it's also a great time for morel mushrooms. So while you're hunting turkeys, you can be looking for some of those yummy little morels that are growing out there. Now, the cons are, I think one of the biggest cons are the ticks. Obviously, you can get ticks at any time, but spring turkey hunting for me is always the major time, along with probably deer scouting, when I get the most ticks. So that is a huge concern, especially with all the tick-borne illnesses going around. If you have any questions about that, definitely check out our webpage. We've got some previous tick webinars and videos that kind of dive into that stuff and can teach you some ways to be prepared for that. But definitely a drawback. And another thing is it's another thing where you're getting a low amount of shot opportunities. This isn't like small game where you're going out and getting 3 to 5 turkeys every day. You've got one permit. You're going out there hoping to get that one animal. But the characteristics, like I kind of mentioned in the beginning, this back and forth calling aspect of turkey hunting is very unique. And even in waterfowl, which does involve a lot of calling, it's not usually back and forth so much as you see the ducks, you're calling at them until they're basically coming towards your location to land, and then you kind of shut up, or you just do some little calls to keep their confidence high. Whereas with turkeys, like the calling is your main thing most of the time. You're not seeing the bird, you're not within eyesight of the bird can't see you, but you can hear each other, and you've got that connection, and that can be super exciting. And for me, that's definitely one of the biggest benefits of turkey hunting and one of the most fun aspects of it. And then, like Lauren mentioned, how archery can become this kind of hobby that goes way beyond hunting. Practicing with your turkey calls could be done at any time. And, the more you practice, the better you're going to be. So if you're somebody that really likes to master a musical instrument or something of that nature, turkey calls and mastering turkey calls might be right up your alley. So equipment wise, what do you need? And again, we broke it down just like with the archery and the firearms deer hunting. A little bit less equipment here, so about $865 to start from scratch. And again, very basic numbers here, but a little bit less equipment to get into it for deer hunting. There is a fall season. We mostly talked about the spring season here, but there is a fall shotgun season as well as the archery season. When you're archery deer hunting, if you pick up a turkey tag, you can also archery turkey hunt. There is a shotgun season in the fall. It's not nearly as popular as the spring season, and to be honest, it's not really as fun. It can be fun, but it's not, because it's not their breeding season. The back and forth calling that we talked about that's so popular with turkey hunting is not generally there in the fall. And it can be there a little bit, but it's kind of a completely different type of hunting. So just wanted to mention that is a possibility if you are super into turkeys and you're like, ah, it's a bummer. I can only really do it with with a gun during the spring. It can be in the fall as well. But just like with the deer stuff, a lot of extra stuff that you can buy there. Most turkey hunters are going to slowly acquire that, and some of the stuff you may like, some of the stuff you may not like. You know, when I first started, I always used to make sure that I had a decoy available. And now I don't think I've even brought a decoy turkey hunting in the past, I don't know, probably 10 years. And I don't plan to probably ever bring one again unless if I have just a exact specific scenario where I need it. But I just don't like messing with them. So I don't have them. I don't like the seats. Like it's another hard thing to carry. I like just a vest that has a flip down soft thing that I can sit on. But some people really want to have that actual low seat to give a little more comfortable place to sit and get their legs in a better position to shoot. So everybody's going to have the certain things that they want or don't want when it comes to this stuff. But the additional concerns when it comes to turkey are just like with deer, you do generally have to draw that area specific tag for public land. There are some places that allow a county tag during the spring, but for a lot of sites, you're going to need that area specific tag. So if you don't get in that drawing basically months before the season, then you're just out of luck for that year. So that's definitely a big concern with turkey hunting. And then, like I mentioned before, wow, the ticks. Nothing to joke around with, so always take your tick precautions very seriously.
And we go over, if you guys check out our website, we've put some of those links in the chat. But not our website. Well, our website has a turkey page on it, which has links on it as well, but also our YouTube page. And we go over kind of how to apply for that and also how to kind of see which sites may have more permits than other sites if you're really going after it on public land and it's not a county tag you're going for. So if you're going for site specific public land sites, we go through that whole process and that whole lottery process on our YouTube page.
Yeah, and I also wanted to flag that turkey season is kind of the turkey seasons are weird. Spring season, you can use archery or shotgun, but fall archery season and fall shotgun season are separate. So I just wanted to mention that because it causes a lot of confusion. Just so be aware if that is something you're interested in, just and you have questions, just let us know.
Yeah, and we got this clarified this past year. You could get two turkey for the shotgun season in the fall and two turkey for the archery season in the fall. So you can get four turkey in the fall if you're able to.
Yep, if you're really lucky, if you're somewhere with a lot of turkeys
Yeah,
in the
that's
right
wild.
part of the state, you could do that. Yep.
Right. Upland game hunting, biggest pros here for most people is that it's something you can do with your dog and or do with dogs. So people that like dogs, like hunting with dogs, like seeing dogs run around in fields, upland game hunting is probably your jam. Something you can do with friends and family. You can talk. You don't have to be stealthy. And if you're somebody who's fidgety like me, you always get to walk around. So you're never just sitting still. You're always moving. You can always go check what's beyond that next hill or what's down that pathway, which I like. So a lot of movement. The cons are wild upland game birds in Illinois, incredibly scarce. You know, it's not the days of old where we had bobwhite quail all over the place. We just don't have them. There's a few spots in Illinois where you can find them, but quail are hard to find. The pheasants, ringneck pheasants, these are, of course, an introduced species, so they're non-native to the area, but they're pretty much spread across the countryside, and we do have some pockets out there in Illinois where we do have wild pheasants, but they're few and far between. So a lot of the pheasants that are out there come from the put and take program. So they're kind of stocked with the purpose of hunting them, and a lot of them do not survive past the winter. So definitely a concern. It's one of those things that if you really do get into upland game hunting, this is one of the types of hunting that you're probably going to be doing some traveling and hunting states like Nebraska or the Dakotas where they have a ton of public land, a lot of habitat, and you can just go out there and hunt for days and days and days and find birds. Got the high vis clothing requirement, course for the upland birds and also rabbits with the small game, but just like with the deer, that is a requirement with hunting the upland game birds.
And this is another one that it's really easy to make it kind of your whole life if you want it to. Just with the dog stuff and wing shooting, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with it out of season as well.
For the minimum equipment, we rank this right along with turkey, so about 865 from scratch to start. But just like with everything, got some additional equipment you may want to add. The biggest concerns here are that this is a thing that's done with dogs. So if you're not somebody who hunts with dogs, then upland game hunting is probably not where you want to start. And then once you do get the dog involved, the sky's the limit in terms of what kind of investment you need in terms of training and equipment. So some people will be very light on that and just go hunting with their dog, and if they get a bird, great. Some people are very sticklers that the dog needs to hunt in an exact specific way, and that does require a lot of training, a lot of effort. So keep that in mind. Waterfowl hunting, one of my favorites. I mean, we're talking fast action. You can do it with your dog. It's on the water generally. Obviously, you can field hunt as well, but all things I like. Got equipment that you get to tinker with, decoy spread that you get to put out there, and then you also get to call at the bird. So all things I enjoy. Definitely makes waterfowl hunting one of my favorite types of hunting. The cons are, hey, it's equipment heavy, so you do need a lot of different stuff to hunt. And there's a lot of places in Illinois where you need a boat for a lot of different opportunities. So definitely you can waterfowl hunt without a boat. I mean, I grew up hunting, never had a boat, only had waders, and I had a lot of awesome hunts. That was in Missouri, not Illinois, but you can definitely get by without a boat, but a boat is going to open up a lot more possibilities for you for sure. And then if you don't have a boat, you better have waders if you're hunting in the water, because you're going to have to be dealing with decoys and ducks on the water for sure. So you've also got to deal with potentially kind of like Jason mentioned with deer hunting, you're in temperature extremes, but with waterfowl hunting, there's also the added curveball of you're generally in the water. So you're not only dealing with the temperature extremes, but you're also in the water. So what happens if it's that really cold day and then all of a sudden you tear a leak in your waders on a beaver stick, and now you're way far away from the truck taking on water, and it's 5-degree wind chill. That could definitely be a situation that's not for somebody the faint of heart. So waterfowl hunting can be super fun, but it's equipment heavy, and you only have to be stealthy when the birds are near. So it's like small periods of stealthiness followed by periods of socialization. So you can talk with the people in your duck blind, share stories, and just have a good old time in the marsh. And wow, I cannot think of too many better places to spend a morning than a marsh anywhere. Even if you're not getting ducks, you're seeing all kinds of water birds and plants, and depending on the time of the year, there might be reptiles and amphibians and who knows what coming to life on the marsh. It's just a fun place to watch the world wake up. But here's that equipment stuff. So a little bit more than the last two bird hunting types we talked about. So back up into the deer hunting territory of a little over $1,000 to start from scratch. But with waterfowl, there is a bunch of additional equipment that you can add. And you'll basically find that some of this stuff is almost a necessity, not quite, but really to be effective out there in a multitude of different hunting scenarios. A lot of that additional equipment is going to become almost mandatory in some hunting type. So definitely this is one that's more equipment heavy. So only get into it if you're prepared to deal with that. Or just get a good buddy that's got all the equipment and is willing to take you along. That could be a good way to get into it as well. But definitely a fun thing to do with a dog. So if you're somebody that does have a lab or you do like labs, waterfowl hunting might be right up your alley because that's something you can do with your house dog. Um, if you do like boats and you like being on the water, hey, waterfowl hunting, there it is. That's apple of your eye because I love being on the water, so I do like that aspect. But it's not a necessity because we do have goose hunting in Illinois is more popular on dry land and layout blinds than it is on the water. So you could be a waterfowl hunter and never even touch the water if you just focus on geese.
And you might be intimidated by asking folks to go hunting with them, but just look at that list. It's a lot of stuff to carry. So you might be surprised at how open folks may be.
Oh yeah, they need help. They need help. Duck hunters are not like deer hunters. They don't want to hunt alone. So they definitely ask them to go. They'll be happy to bring you along a lot of times. All right, dove hunting. So this is generally a short period of time. I mean, the most popular time to dove hunt is really just the first about week of September. The season lasts longer than that, but you're talking about something that's super fast action in early September, and then it winds down to where the action is generally not so fast. But my first dove hunt ever, I shot 72 times in an hour and a half to get my limit of 15 doves. Now, I was a kid, I'm a better shot than that now, but if you do the math, I was shooting probably faster than most people shoot when they go trap shooting. And I was shooting at wild doves. So you're talking the most amount of action that you can possibly find if you hit it right. Um, Also, another thing you can do with your dog. This is one that generally you don't have to deal with cold or anything like that. The only thing you might have to deal with is extreme heat, but you can do it in the dry land. You don't need much equipment. And yeah, really the only thing to worry about is that they're hard to hit. Might have to bring some extra shells. There could be a bunch of mosquitoes around. And then, of course, there's not a whole lot of meat on a dove, so it does take a pretty good haul to get enough to make a meal. So if you just go out and get one or two doves, that's kind of like a tease. So you'd be a little disappointed there, but a lot of good stuff with doves. Definitely a good way to get people introduced to bird hunting because, like we said, it could be warm, it can be fast action. And even in the middle part of the day, a lot of the IDNR public sites only hunt either noon to 1 to like 4 or 5. So you're only hunting not early and not late, just out there for a bit during the slow part of the dove flight.
They are delicious too. So if you're wondering what's the hassle, like is it just fun to go out and shoot fast at all these birds and stuff, but they actually are quite delicious.
Oh, very good.
Yep.
And now this for me is arguably generally the best thing for new hunters to get started with, and that's small game hunting. Because it's one of the things that requires the least amount of equipment, least amount of preparation. There's low amount of processing after you're successful. And the best thing is you get a lot of shot opportunities. So like Jason mentioned before, we're all going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes on deer, on turkeys, on squirrels. And me personally, I guess I would rather make those mistakes on squirrels because you're probably going to have another opportunity in 30 more minutes or an hour. Another chance to do it right. And then another 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to have another opportunity after that. And they're just going to keep coming. So you get a lot of chances to basically learn how to do it right when it comes to small game hunting. Um, the cons, and really this kind of a stretch, but not much meat on the critter, you know? And a lot of people think of small game hunting as an activity for youth. I always disagree because I don't know why something, that's fast action and fun. And I also say squirrels are delicious. When all those things are combined, I don't know why only youth can like that stuff, but and Some areas, like I mentioned before, do close down for small game hunting just to allow archery deer hunters more priority on the area. But really, not a lot of cons when it comes to small game hunting. Fun, laid back way to hunt. You can do it with your dog. A lot of different ways you can hunt. Got squirrels and rabbits. Just keep in mind there is that high vis clothing requirement for rabbits specifically, not for squirrels.
You
A
say it's
quick,
not a lot of meat on there, but like a squirrel could be a meal if you have sides and everything else. So I think
oh yeah,
Just
yeah,
make it into biscuits and gravy. You got it for
yeah.
two people. One squirrel, two people.
Or pot pie, that makes it stretch a long way
yeah,
too.
Yep.
Or
yeah. You can
casserole of
stretch
some
that.
sort. But and also like regionally, some of these we're just talking about Illinois, of course, but like some parts of the country, small game may be more popular than any other type of hunting. I mean, it's really interesting the traditions that you come across as well. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, try out small game. It's a blast, and it's just traditionally like it has the least amount of equipment, as Curtis is about ready to show, generally, and it's just a really easy thing to get you out in the woods. And as he said, use the same tactics as you may use for spot and stalk deer hunting or something like that. So the skills you learn across the board translate to each one. So whatever gets you going, you'll be able to see that as you get better at that, you'll be able to transfer that to something else.
For sure, and I definitely recommend start with small game. I mean, dove's also good, especially if you're more into the birds like waterfowl, upland, then dove's a great way to break into that. And if you're more into deer, I'd say squirrel hunting is the perfect way to break into that. Low equipment needs. We got 840 to start from scratch, which you could even do it for cheaper than that, especially if you've already got a shotgun, or some areas will allow you to use a 22 or a rimfire rifle for squirrels. Now, always check your site specific regs because not many will allow that in Illinois, but a few will. And wow, you can really be out small game hunting without much investment at all. And there's not a whole lot of stuff to add. Once you get a few things, you're just ready to go and you're well equipped. You could bring a dog with you for some of the stuff. That it's not super popular in Illinois to squirrel hunt with a dog, but rabbit hunting with a pack of beagles, or in Lauren's case, basset hound, wow, that can be exhilarating and another really good social thing to do with your friends and dogs all together.
Plus, if you don't get anything, you're like, well, at least the dog got a good run. If nothing else.
Yeah, the dogs always have a blast. And we're talking long seasons, generally easier to get access for small game than things like deer or turkey. So you could potentially get private land access if you ask. And a lot of different ways to do it. Good way to practice for deer, or even if you aspire to be a Western hunter someday, spot and stalk mule deer or elk, start with squirrel because you'll get a chance to spot and stalk squirrels on a mini basis and treat it like a mini Western hunt and get your practice in. Trapping, another one of my favorites. So a little bit different than a lot of the types of hunting that we've talked about before, but might be the most opportunity of them all because this is probably the easiest to get private land permission. Because a lot of times the private landowner is, instead of them feeling like they're doing you a favor, they feel like you're doing them a favor. So I've even had private land owners, after I successfully trap on their property, they try to pay me, which I've never had anybody try to do that for hunting. So obviously, opportunity in a little different category when it comes to trapping. Very active, like upland. Basically, you're never just sitting and wait, whereas hunting, you're sitting and wait and trying to be an ambush predator. Trapping, you're going out and trying to basically use your scouting and your knowledge of animals and work to do the waiting for you. So there's no waiting, it's all work. And then you come back to see if that work resulted in a catch or not. So a little bit different than a lot of these others, but definitely appeals to people that are very active, want to be busy, like to do all the processing, and like to tinker with equipment. The cons, just like with the other stuff, hey, equipment heavy. So if you don't want to deal with equipment, if you don't have storage for this place, if you don't like smells, if you don't like mud and water and cold temperatures, trapping is probably not your jam. Um, but yeah, very diverse. Some people have been trappers their whole life and only trap beaver and muskrats. Other people trappers their whole life and they only trap predators like coyotes and foxes. And some people trap a little bit of everything. So super diverse. You can do a lot of different things. Also a great way to open up private land opportunities for other types of hunting. Because well, like I mentioned, the landowner feels like you're doing them a service. So if you come in and trap a couple beaver for them, and then the next year you ask, hey, do you mind if I deer or turkey hunt here? They're much more likely to say yes after they feel like you're something that's valuable to them. So I've definitely got private land permission for other animals by starting with trapping and then leading to the other things after I've kind of helped them out with that. Equipment is high. Again, just to get started, probably over $1,000. And again, you could do this for less than this. If you were just wanting to start muskrat trapping on your back pond, you could probably get started doing that cheaper than about anything else on this whole list. But in general, trapping is going to have more equipment needs and concerns and more equipment maintenance from you than most everything else on this whole list. A lot of stuff there, not going to go through it all, but just know equipment heavy, and not only do you have to buy this equipment, but most of it is going to require some amount of maintenance, if not every year, at least every couple years. But if you do that, a lot of this stuff will be like the firearms, where they not only last your whole life, but they can be legitimate heirlooms.
But it's
Um,
equipment heavy and heavy equipment. It's a lot of stuff to carry around. It's a lot of metal.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you'll get strong carrying that around. And even when you catch something, just beaver, you're talking about an animal that can be up 60 pounds. So now you're also you're in the same situation you were with potentially a deer, where now you've got to get a 60-pound football that's wet and slippery out of the woods, and also your traps, which were heavy even without that 60-pound football. So
Yeah,
all
this is
things to
definitely one too
consider.
with a lot of post maintenance, a lot of post harvest maintenance and
Yeah,
processing.
definitely. Trapping has probably got the most, it is high with deer, but with trapping, it's every day. You're running your traps every day, and you've probably got a decent amount of processing effort to do every single day. Some people like that, some people don't, but definitely something to consider for sure. Now, fur bear hunting, another thing where opportunities can be super high. And with fur bear hunting, it also gives you that nighttime hour flexibility, which is another thing that we don't want to gloss over. Because if you're somebody, depending on your work schedule in the fall and winter, it could be very hard to have daylight hours available for any type of hobby. And if you're in that boat, you may want to look into fur bear hunting, because this is something you can do at night. I mean, it's generally done at night for either raccoons, like they're doing in this picture, they're raccoon hunting with trailing hounds, or people will do a lot of coyote calling. You can do that day or night, but night is probably, well, they're probably about the same in popularity, but it can be done at night, so you definitely have that flexibility there. And with raccoon hunting, like they're doing in this picture, a lot of these hunters will do what's called tree and free. So they'll basically hunt year round, but without even carrying a gun. So they're just
Yeah, I did that.
basically,
Did that
yeah,
earlier
just
this week.
tree and the coon, and then yep, go on. Let the
Yep.
coon go about its day, and you go try to find another one, and you can be active with your dogs basically year round. Cons are obviously the amount of land it takes, because dogs aren't as good as humans at reading property signs and all that stuff, and we have to be cognizant of where our dogs are. We're responsible for them. We're not allowed to let dogs trespass or anything like that. So that is something you've got to be able and willing to take control of if you do any fur bear hunting, especially with hounds. And so generally that'll take like some GPS collars or a lot of training with your dogs to be able to navigate that. That can be tough, and just, yeah, you are dealing with potentially rough terrain, creeks, all that kind of stuff where raccoons and coyotes might live. You might be dealing with that at night, which is even a little added difficulty than doing it during the daytime. But a lot of opportunity. It can be fast action and it can be super social. You can do it with a small group of buddies. You're going out at night, you're getting a lot of action, you're talking, you're sharing stories, and maybe sometimes you don't even bring a gun. You're just treeing and freeing, but you're having a blast. Your dogs are having a blast, and you're doing something that's got basically both raccoons and coyotes might have the highest population today that they've ever had in the history of Illinois. So opportunity is high, it's generally easy to get permission, and you've got that added flexibility of being able to do it at night. So a lot of reasons to check this out, especially if you find somebody that's already got a dog. Ask them to go along and check it out, because really being in the woods at night is a experience everyone should have. It's a blast. Equipment wise, a little bit more than some of the small game, but a little bit less than trapping. And mainly, this is dealing with your dog stuff when it really comes down to it. So you will need some stuff to get you going for some of the predator hunting and fur bear hunting, but a lot of the energy and equipment is going to be dog related. So the GPS collars that I already mentioned, those might be $1,000 or more to get those. But those are something that a lot of the raccoon hunters that are really active, they wouldn't hardly think about going out in the woods without those, because they want to know exactly where their dogs are at all time and have that control.
Yep, and same for the beagles and basset people for the rabbits too. Anything with a hound, they range far away.
Yep, yep. And so we talked the two most popular types of fur bear hunting are going to be the raccoons with trailing hounds, and then also calling for predators, coyotes and foxes. So other fur bears you can hunt. I mean, that includes woodchuck, skunk, and stuff like that. There aren't really a lot of people that are going out and hunting those as a target animal. Most of that stuff is going to be nuisance related or maybe opportunistic, but most hunters aren't going out like, "Ooh, I'm going to target skunks or or any other fur bear other than probably coyotes or raccoons for the most part." So, next steps. Basically, if hunting is something you're interested in, you get a feeling for which type you might be most interested in. You want to look for groups that are associated with that topic, right? So, if you just went through this webinar and you're like, oh man, fur bear hunting is my jam, or trapping is what I really want to get into. Well, guess what? If you're into trapping in Illinois, we've got the Illinois Trappers Association and the Fur Takers of America, both really active in Illinois. Both clubs you could join and meet like-minded people that are nearby to you, acquaintances that you can ask questions to and that may invite you along to learn. Same thing with upland deer. You can find groups that match all these different things and join them and go to meetings. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm new. This is something I'm just interested in. If you have basically, if you can be brave enough to put yourself out there and say that, you're going to find a lot of people that are going to be willing to help you. Because, hey, if you're showing up to their meeting, they're like, we need new, fresh faces in our organization. So if you're willing to come, I'm willing to take you hunting, or I'm willing to teach you, I'm willing to lend you my equipment. You're going to find a lot more help once you get involved with these groups. So definitely do that. And definitely watch and subscribe to us. We're here to be a resource for you. If you have questions, always feel free to come to us with those questions. And we're just going to put out a lot of stuff that's going to be helpful to you. So whether that's reminders for lotteries like the deer, turkey, dove, upland, waterfowl lotteries. We're going to try to remind you about all those things. We're going to also remind you about seasons that are coming up and other important things like how to best prepare for ticks and just a bunch of resources. I mean, we've got, I think, over 30 unique webinars that you can go look at all those recordings for all the different types of hunting that we're talking about, as well as all sorts of resourceful videos and whole web pages built about most of these types of hunting, all designed to basically help give you the tools to get you out there hunting and hopefully being a little bit more successful than you would have on your own. And a big thing I want to mention is our biggest event of the year, Illinois Hunt Camp, is built just for new and newer hunters. And this year it's going to be September 27th in Wakanda, Illinois. Tickets are on sale right now, so you could go get those. They're only $10, and this event is basically everything we've been talking about rolled into one. It's going to introduce you to all the active outdoor groups in Illinois and let you decide if any of them are right for you to join those. We've got educational tables where you can learn skills like duck ID and map reading and dog training. And then we've got a bunch of fun games that are outdoor related and prizes. And the big thing is our mentored hunt giveaway. At the end, we give away all of our mentored hunt opportunities for adults, and those are hard to find, not just in Illinois, but anywhere. It's hard to find mentored hunts that are made for adults, and we, for the past couple of years, have had over 50 of those experiences available at Hunt Camp for you to win. So right now, the tickets are only $10, early bird ticket price. Scoop them up. Come to Hunt Camp. You're going to learn stuff. You're going to meet people that are like-minded. You're going to have a blast. And if you're lucky, you may just win a mentored hunt that's going to get you out in the woods with somebody knowledgeable and kickstart your hunting journey. So definitely look into Hunt Camp. It's made just for you, and it's a great time. Haven't heard many complaints. So definitely put that one on your radar. And if you do know anybody that hunts, tell them that you're interested and just maybe they'll take you along. And then once you do develop that passion, we just ask that you help spread it yourself and take somebody new as well. So here's a bunch of the groups that we've worked with before that you can look into if you already do know what type of hunting you're really into. Here you go. Here's a list to get you started. Check out these groups. We've worked with all these groups and we can vouch for them. They do good stuff and they can really help jumpstart your hunting journey. A little bit more information about Hunt Camp. I won't read through all this stuff because I kind of already talked about it a little bit, got ahead of myself, but Hunt Camp is definitely one not to miss. Deacon's Golf, or Deacon's Restaurant and Bar and Golf Farm in Wakanda, Illinois. It's an awesome location. We got a big open field. We shoot archery out in the field in the whole 9 yards. So come and you will not be disappointed. I bet you it's the cheapest at $10, which includes food and prizes and all that stuff. I'm willing to bet there's not hardly anything else you can do in Chicago for $10 per person that includes all that stuff. So come check it out. And with that, turn it over to any questions, comments, complaints, or what have you.
What's the Hunt Camp URL again, Curtis?
Yeah, so www dot, it is huntcampil.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not IllinoisHuntCamp.com, but HuntCampIL.com. That was in the
Now,
questions.
actually, yeah, now I'm second guessing myself
Nope.
because our two web pages are different. So I think it is actually IllinoisHuntCamp.com.
It is now in the chat. So it's with the website, what was it, WordPress or something that we use to design websites for the university?
Yep.
So it has publish.illinois.edu slash hunt camp. But it's fine. That'll get you there. Lauren's
We
done a
we
fantastic
also
job of putting all of our resources in the chat. So if you haven't checked the chat at all throughout this, go through that and open up all your little tabs and see all the resources that we have because there's a ton of them.
Yeah, anything that links to the YouTube page is because I haven't had a chance to update our web page yet, but keep an eye on those. We're trying to make basically a really comprehensive like how-to guide for pretty much every species. It's just taken a long time because it's a lot of detail.
Hmm.
But keep an eye on there on those. We have links going through like you'll see with the deer page and stuff. So
Yep, and there was the domain up there. We do have the domain illinoishuntcamp.com. So if you don't have it to click on, if you it worked for me. I just typed it in illinoishuntcamp.com and it came up for me. Yeah, it came right up for me just now.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll look into that. I'm not sure why it's not working for you. It seems to be working
Work
for
this time,
me,
maybe
but
I yeah, you probably had a typo. But thank you for letting us know. Yeah,
yeah,
appreciate that.
we'll check into that.
If anyone has any questions generally about hunting, we can get those real quick. And if not, feel free to take off. And again, all those resources, all of our YouTube channel, check that out. Dive into our website. Isn't just um, like our upcoming events anymore. It is becoming a textbook for hunting. Thank you to Lauren. She has compiled all of our stuff onto different web pages. So for each species, there's a web page, and it will link you to all of our publications or videos or webinars to help you with anything, really.
yep, like I said, anything that's not up, just go to our YouTube page and we've got past webinars and just keep an eye on it because we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yep, and if that domain is not working, then definitely click on the link. The link should be working, and we will definitely look into that
Yeah,
further.
and hopefully see you at
Those-
hunt camp. Sorry, I'm coughing over here, but it's a really good time. And again, it's one of those opportunities where you can get. It's a very what's the word I'm looking for? Inclusive spot where people are there to meet people. It's not just we won't just huddle up and turn our and just have a bunch of shoulders and you got to break into a group of people talking. Feel free to say hello and introduce yourself to anybody and you should be able to make a friend pretty quick.
Yeah, this is definitely way different than your standard hunting, whatever you want to call it, hunting get together. Because this is one that's made just for brand new hunters. So you're not going to see the same hunters, that are 90% of the clientele at most of these things. Like the people that come to hunt camp are not at any of these other things because they're all the brand new hunters. So they're basically all people that are in the same boat as you. So that really makes people feel comfortable when they see that a lot of people are kind of on that same step where they're just on step one or two. And it's not intimidating as when you go to maybe a different outdoor hunting show or seminar and everybody's on step 9, 10, or 105 and you're still on step one and you feel intimidated. Hunt camp is definitely not that.
Yeah,
Everybody is brand new.
and all of them have been hunting each other's properties for the past 35 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it's
all
it's
know each other and
brand
have
new.
fun every day. This is different. So everybody's there to meet people and make new friends. So completely different vibe. Definitely come out, give it a try.
Hmm. Yeah.
Do
So if anyone
anybody
has
has
any,
any?
oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead, Lauren,
Nope.
go
I was
for
gonna
it.
say if anybody has any questions about anything in general or anything specific, let
Yep.
us know. And
Any concerns or questions, let us know. And if not now, reach out to our Facebook page or email us. What's a good email for us at this point, guys?
The Learn to Hunt Gmail address is still good, or which we do have links to on our webpage, right,
Okay.
Lauren?
yeah, everything's on our website. We have a couple, so
Yep.
it's just
Oh,
a matter of who it gets to. But yep. Here, I'll throw that in the chat. But just contact Learn to Hunt IL is a good one as well. I usually cover that one, I think. But yeah, if you don't have questions now, you probably will when you start looking into regs, or lotteries. So Jason's been doing a bunch of really good videos to help guide you through those, so I definitely recommend giving those a look because it's not everything's in the same spot, or it's not always clear exactly what you need. So
Yeah, I've
look at
enjoyed those. Helped me. Dang this cough, guys. It's helped me also figure out the kind of the DNR website a little bit better myself because whenever you have to teach something, you have to learn it. So yeah, so check those videos out on how to apply on all the different lotteries and things. And I try to go over all the different free resources that you have to help you select which sites you might want to apply for, depending on the species and all that. So I've enjoyed breaking that down, and hopefully it is helpful for you.
I think we're only missing three, and we should hopefully get those out in the next as they open up. So we're
Yeah.
getting there.
Yep. Yeah, as they open up, I try to go on I show you a click by click way of applying, and then also deep diving into the public information to figure out what to do. Cool. All right. Well, if that's it, I think we can get out of here. If anyone has any questions, we'll get going. But thank you all for attending, and look forward to hopefully seeing you all in the future, hearing from you, and good luck out in the field.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. See you at hunt camp.